serious, what was something you saw you were definitely not supposed to see? My severance check. Apparently someone at the payroll company addressed it to me instead of ours. Opened it at my desk and laughed, packed up my shit and left. Back in 1997, I started work at a new job and took over the office of a salesman who had recently been fired. I was in it, using the same computer that had been set up for sales. My first task was to install all the software I'd need. The computer hard drive was almost full, so I poked around and found a ton of folders filled with porn. Went to my supervisor and he said to delete it, warning me that the salesman had been fired for downloading porn. Over the next few weeks, I kept finding secret porn folders on the company's network. Not only had he downloaded enough porn to maximum out his computer's HD, he had the network at about 90% capacity. When I was done deleting all the folders I could find, the server capacity was less than 50%. Dude was seriously addicted to porn. Worked for a downtown metropolitan hotel for a long time, and I've seen a lot I wasn't supposed to see. Probably the worst was a kid with an old man. Checked this guy in at like 1 in the morning. Not uncommon because people travel to different times, but he was alone. Like an hour later he asked for something like a towel or blanket. Anyways, dispatched our runner to deliver it. After the runner comes to me and says he thinks something is wrong because he caught a glimpse of someone and the old guy was trying hard to block the entrance. Being that we were supposed to take stuff like human trafficking seriously, I asked our maintenance to cut his power so we would get a call to come up to try and fix the problem. He doesn't. I go up with him to apologize for the inconvenience because the guy was also a torture member. Sure enough, we hear a kid in the bathroom hiding. Tried to ask who the kid was, and the old guy tried everything to shut us down from throwing his status around to bribing. Called the cops and let them deal with it. Edit. Didn't expect this to gain so much traction. Here's some additional info for people that have been asking. I don't recall the specific charge, or if I was even told so. Use your imagination. I don't know the age of the child. I only saw him briefly one time, when the cops showed up. I don't know the age of the guy. This was in Southern California, as specific as I'd like to be. I once arrived early to pick up a girl for a first date. She was renting a small garden apartment behind a bigger house. It was just after dusk, and I walked around the corner. The sliding door was standing open, and she was inside walking around, brushing her hair, wearing only her underwear. She did not see me, so I just walked back around that corner and waited another 10 minutes. When I walked round again she had a dress on. I never told her. Edit. Since a few asked. The date went well. I only got to see her underwear again several weeks later. I was downloading a game on my uncle's computer. So I was looking for the files to complete the setup, and I clicked on a file called games. Few videos popped up, so the curious girl that I clicked on one and there was it. A Chinese girl literally freaking her couch. That was my first porn experience. I was 7 and my sister was 5. And it doesn't stop there. We decided to show our mom. I'll never forget the trauma on her face. When I was about 16, I was snooping in my parents' wardrobe. Found a diary written by my mother when she was 14, from the year 1970. Read some beautiful and brilliantly written entries about meeting and dating my dad, who was 16 at the time. Had to read a little between the lines in some slightly later entries as they were written with such flowery language. In one such entry, all of a sudden she discloses that she's had an abortion, performed by my grandfather, an anesthesiologist. She never told anyone. Back when I was a teenager, we hosted a New Zealander at our house for a couple weeks. Guy gets to our place after the flight, and about 10 minutes later I'm walking around my house to see where he's at. The door to his room is partially open, and the dude is laying face down on the bed and humping the ever-living freak out of a pillow. I backed away slowly like Homer when he saw Apu cheating on his wife. I felt bad for the pillow. Edit. For all of you asking, no, it was not a wool pillow, and it didn't resemble a sheep. My Phil sent a D-pic to my wife on accident. Yes, his own daughter. Luckily, I picked up her phone first and saw it. I was so confused at first, and then realized what happened and started dying laughing. It was his shaft and there was an Old Spice deodorant stick hiding the head of his pee-pee and the caption read, "Is this what you want?" As soon as I laughed, she came over, and the phone rang. It was her dad calling. I threw it at her, because there was no way in hell I could answer it, and not be cackling. Poor guy was crying and apologizing, and she said she had no idea what was going on, but would delete the picture before even looking at it. She got off the phone, deleted the pic, and then was mortified when I told her, "It's my favorite family story." She wouldn't let me get him an Old Spice deodorant stick for Christmas. Years ago a colleague had an old smartphone that he brought in to give to another coworker as his broke. The phone was sitting on the new owner's desk, but she hadn't yet tried it out, as it was still charging after months of not being used. We were talking about how cool it was with the coworker. Smartphones were not widespread yet, and I picked it up to see how it felt in my hand. I pressed a button and the first thing that I saw was a Google search for lump on anus. I quickly put the phone back down. This must have been the last thing he searched for when he last used it a long time ago and forgot about it. I found invitations to my big surprise 18th birthday just lying on the floor a few weeks before the event. I had to act surprised when the time came to walk through the door to the party, which I did. The only thing is, my twin brother also knew, which I didn't know at the time, and let's just say his acting skills are really bad. So we both found out in different ways about the surprise party, but neither of us knew that we found out about it. So when I walked through the door for the surprise, I could tell from his reaction that he knew. Happened to a friend of mine. She was dating this dude forever. They broke up, and he moved out. She was devastated. About a month later she was cleaning out old stuff and found a receipt for a ring that he had bought for her and never given her. That's how she found out that he had once intended to propose before he fell out of love with her. She was hurt pretty bad about that. Back in the day, I would try to download anime episodes and clips off of P2P services. This was either days of Kazaa, before people widely recognized that P2P programs were hives of illegal porn, and I'm one of the kids who was introduced to all sorts of disturbing stuff this way. The worst, though, was a small clip of a crying girl, late teens, 20 at the most. It was only about 10 seconds long, but at about the 6-second mark, about the time I was sighing and saying ugh, of course this isn't Goku, someone shot her in the head. I hadn't even noticed the gun at her temple until her skull was shred to pieces. Every once in a while, I remember that, and it makes me wonder who she was, who mourned her, and what sort of sick person films that. Edit. Lots of folks are saying the video might have been a fake, even a well-known one. I sure hope so. 10-year-old me didn't know that, of course. It didn't mess with me too badly, but I never got the thought of how blood in the movies is never quite a dark enough red out of my mind. Happened when I was 7. I found the Tom and Jerry DVD I had lost in the back of a drawer. In celebration, I decided to watch it again. By the time my mother walked into the living room and saw me watching a threesome, I was already scarred for life. She took away the entire DVD collection. A few years ago a girl asked to charge her phone off my laptop. For some reason she granted the laptop file access, and whatever the Mac OS iPhone import is called downloaded every single picture. Been 6 years since I used a Mac. This downloaded 400 pictures onto my hard drive without me learning about it until a week later or so. Many of them were sexually explicit Snapchats, mostly from guys, so I deleted everything and reformatted the hard drive to be safe. It was all unwanted, and the last thing I needed at 16 was to be harboring a bunch of nudes of my classmates. One time when I was around 9 years old, I woke up to take a leak in the middle of the night. I saw that the TV was still on in my parents' room through the tiny opening in their bedroom door. My bathroom's near my parents' room. I went to check up on them, and when I opened the door, my god, I can never erase what I saw. I saw my mom on the edge of the bed and my dad eating her out with all his might. I literally said, "Mama," and they didn't even hear me because they were so into it, so I just ran quickly back to my room. I remember the next morning, during breakfast, I asked my mom if there's any more juice left and she said, "There's no more. Your dad has the last cup of juice." And then my dad said, "You can drink the rest of it if you want." He offered his cup of juice to me, and I looked at the rim of the cup and already felt sick to my stomach. I'm 20 now, and I still can't believe I remember seeing that. TLDR, saw my dad going to town on my mom in the middle of the night.